beautiful people, welcome and welcome back to Giftedsuzi. So if you are new here, kindly feel much welcome and thank you so much for choosing to click onto this video. I don't take it for granted. And as for my returning subscribers, thank you so much guys for the love and the support you guys that you are showing me. And as for today's video, it's a very interesting one, so stay tuned so that you can get to know what I have prepared for you. I'll be sharing with you my experience at the Riyadh airport. What was the experience? We arrived at the Riyadh airport at around 2 a.m. That's when we arrived at the airport. We alighted the plane and then we were shown the checkpoint by a certain guys who are working at the airport. At the checkpoint we had to queue. The queue was so long because we were very many of us. Actually we were very many ladies and gentlemen from different countries. So for me, we queued for about 1 hour. I queued for about 1 hour, and at the end of it all, I was allowed to be in the country as my passport was verified. When we were done at the checkpoint, there is a certain tag that we had to put on so that we can be identified by the person who was to pick us from the airport. We wore that tag, and the man who was to take us, she came and took us in a certain room at the airport. And upon arriving in that room, we sat down and immediately she took our passport. She did not communicate, she did not say anything, she just picked our passport, and we were like, what? For me, I was like, what? Why don't you tell us whom you are? I'm from this company, blah blah blah, so that we can at least understand you. But later on I realized that the guy could not be able to express himself in English, and that when we just let it be the way it is and told God, just God guide us, because we don't know what we had signed for. We did not expect such things. We expected to be picked direct from the airport, although there were some ladies whom were picked direct from the airport and they went with their bosses. But as for us and as for me, I was not picked. I was, after 2 hours, that when we boarded a taxi and we were taken in an accommodation. So for me, I was like, oh my God, where am I going? I don't have a passport. I don't know this person who has picked our passport. But I had to be cool and let everything be cool and inform God, it's you and me. God, I don't need any human being or anyone to be, or else anyone to intervene. And that's when we went in accommodation. We found there were so many other people who were there. There were Kenyans, there were Ugandans, Philippines, so many of us we were, but we are not in the same room, we are in different rooms. And upon arriving the accommodation, I felt at least good. I have seen my fellow Kenyan. I was very okay about that. We communicated with them and they informed us how things are there. Some have been there for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and there were no complaints. And at the accommodation, things were very harsh, very harsh. It was very hot. That's one of the first thing. It was very hot. The other thing is, challenge were very more. We lacked essentials. We lacked soap to bathe. We lacked Colgate. Even most of us, we had not carried our pads, so we had to share anything, to an extent that we were using the soap to clean utensils to bathe. That's what we were doing. Actually, even we were sleeping on the floor. For the 2 weeks I had been there in that accommodation, because I was in accommodation for 2 weeks and 3 days. Actually, it was very challenging. Like when it was either supper time or lunch time, we had to rush. If you don't rush, you may not get the food. For me, when my first week was gone and I was not picked, and the ladies whom we were with, all of them, they were picked, I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? Believe you me, by that time, if I had wings, I would have fly back to my country and never come back again here in Saudi. Never. Because what I went through, actually, it was very tough, very tough. Sleeping on the floor, food, it's not enough. We were very stressed, most of us whom we were in that accommodation. I stayed for the first week, for the second week, and I was like, oh my God, what is this and what is not happening? But I was crying and asking my God, what God do you need with me? I was like, you know very well, when I came here, my mom didn't know, no one knew that I came here. The only person who knew was my very close friend and my cousin, one of my cousins. The rest of my family members, no one knew where I had gone. So I was like, oh my God, I did not tell anyone where I am going. What am I going to do? My mom does not know, my dad does not know where I am. No one knew where I am. And I told my cousin and my friend that if I go, unless things goes on well for me, don't tell anyone where I am. So I was like, what? I started crying and crying. I was not eating, I was not crying for the 3 days. For almost 3 days, I was just crying and praying and telling God, let your will be done. Let your will be done. But at the end of the 3rd day, I was picked by my boss and we went to his home. And from that day, I was at least happy. Not that much happy, but at least I was happy because I've come out of a place whereby it was very harsh for me.